Now, I always find it really interesting when a newspaper anywhere in the world suddenly brings me a story from a property that I've already visited. In this case, it's a house at number 39 de Grey Street in Hull. A lot of people today claiming it to be Britain's most haunted house. They've even asked the police to investigate evil forces lurking in this 7-bedroom property after children's shadows had been seen, knives moving, arms, dark shapes, and people screaming. The neighbours hate the property. They have phoned the police on several occasions claiming there was someone in the house, yet when the police arrived, they're freaked out by it, but they find the property completely empty. It's been free of inhabitation for about 7 and a bit years now. Nobody lived there because of the sheer weight of paranormal activity. Now, it was six and a half years ago I was first introduced to this place. The longest tenant in recent years only managing to last 4 days before being chased out. Now, the reason I went down to see it was some students from Durham University were not allowed into the property. Now, this was about 7 years ago. So what they did, they got some ladders and they placed a recording device on a hot summer's day at the window above the garage, the window upstairs above the living room, and on the living room itself. 3 recording devices. The downstairs living room didn't have anything other than traffic and people passing by. This is what they caught on the window above the garage. Now, the one directly above their living space, this is where you hear the voices of children screaming. Have a listen to this. Now, the locals around Hull have dubbed this building the Hostel. They have reported seeing children's shadows coming out of the fireplace, steak knives being moved overnight to the degree that one of them moved into the living room and plunged itself into a table, and there was nobody in the house. The person who lived there previously called the police after being dragged out of bed and physically strangled by some strange force or entity. Now, we've also had stories of people being asked to go and value the property and coming out running. One lady from a local estate agent said that when she was in there, she was walking up a long flight of stairs and someone or something put their hand up her skirt. She turned around to slap whoever it was, only to see there was no one there. However, whilst she looked down, the front door slammed of its own accord. The owner of the property, Andy Yates, said, "I lived in the house by myself, came downstairs to find steak knives balanced on the plates in the drying rack. I've tried to rent the house out, but it's only been for about 4 days because people will not stay there. They get too frightened and they're forced out." He decided he was going to go in and measure it up for some new furniture, get the whole place decorated. He brought the decorators in. Within 3 hours, they were out too. And he also said that he'd seen a child's shadow move out of the fireplace, hover above his head for almost 1/4 of an hour, and then as soon as he started to move towards it, it disappeared back into the wall. Now also, there's a cupboard under the stairs, which is pretty notorious too, with lots of mediums say they believe that children had been locked up in there. This is the sound captured by Hull University students when they placed a microphone in that cupboard under the stairs. Now, mediums report that there is an evil sensation, a force of evil that lurks inside this. And people walking by often see small phantom faces at the windows. And he says, when I put the house up for rent, a woman who'd lived there for 24 years previously contacted on Facebook. She told him that she'd been dragged out of bed and strangled. And when the police turned up, they told her off, claiming it was just a hoax. And then, just as they were about to leave, a bookcase fell on the two police officers and they ran straight out of the house. Jolene Lockwood is a clairvoyant medium. She described the house as horrific, and she sensed the presence of an evil entity, an adult, and a child. She said, as soon as I walked into the house, I felt this horrific energy. I noticed a woman on the stairs who I believe had been drugged. Now, along with her business partner, she says she discovered a sinister force in the back bedroom and heard the growling of an aggressive man.
I lived here for 8 years, up until 2007, during which time there was loads of activity happening in the house. Before I moved here, I was a complete non-believer in anything ghost-like. But while I lived here, more and more stuff happened which I just had no explanation for. People asked me to rent it out for people to come in. I didn't really think that people would want to pay to come into a haunted house, but it's been empty since 2007 and a few people have suggested it lately, so I opened it and we've just been inundated with people, and apparently loads of people have said it's one of the most active properties I've been in. We've had mediums from all different places in the country all coming up with exactly the same story about young children being not treated very well here and abused and all sorts of stuff. Basically, more and more stuff happening. It just keeps happening all the time. And it's a real eye-opener for me, not being involved in anything like this before. I've just started doing this 2 months ago, and the stuff that's happened over the last 2 months has been amazing. People getting strangled, thrown on the floor, thrown against windows, and all sorts of stuff. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
But perhaps the most incredible bit of footage that we found anywhere came from my visit. But when I was there, I walked around with a small recording device that we call a Marantz, and I just simply walked into a lot of the rooms, didn't particularly speak to talk about it, decided I was simply going to leave the Marantz in a room for 5 or 6 minutes. You can hear me walking down the stairs as I leave a Marantz in the room when you hear this, sort of an old man's laughing, wheezing. There's a man spirit in this house, and that of a child or children. Now, looking back into the history of the property, we discovered that back in the day, this property was a much bigger property on this same site. Parts of the original building remain, like the staircase and the first floor balcony. A lot of the other house had been rebuilt many, many years ago. But it had been used as a children's home, and it was said that the man running it used to beat and abuse the children, and that is why it was closed as Hull's dirty secret. Could it be those troubled spirits that leave sounds like this?